Good day, everyone. So, going back, I am Carmen Gutib, and I will be going to discuss the topic 2. It's all about the normal distributions, finding probabilities. So, yesterday or last meeting, we discussed about the introduction to normal distributions and the standard normal distributions. In this topic, we can learn on how to find the areas for normally distributed variables using a table. So, probability and normal distribution. If a random variable x is normally distributed, you can find the probability that x will fall in a given interval by calculating the area under the normal curve for that interval. So, if it's a random variable x, normally distributed, so therefore we can find the probability. But in finding the probability, we will use the formula z is equals to value minus mean over the standard deviation, or the symbol x minus mean over the standard deviation. So, consider this illustration that we have the value of our x, where x is less than 600. Then, the mean is equals to 500 and our standard deviation is 100. Consider a normal curve with a mean is equals to 500 and the standard deviation is equals to 100 upper right. So in your upper right, this is the normal curve. So going back, that in normal curve, we can have any value of our mean. So that's why we put 500. And our standard deviation, or any positive standard deviation, and our illustration, it is 100 for our standard deviation. So the value of x, one standard deviation above the mean, is the mean plus our standard deviation is equals to 500 plus 100, since our mean is 500 and our standard deviation is 100, so it is equals to 600. Then, now consider the standard normal curve. So this is our standard normal curve, where our standard normal curve must be our mean is equals to 0 and the standard deviation is equals to 1. So the value of z1 standard deviation above the mean is the mean plus the standard deviation is equals to 0 plus 1 is equals to 1. So what we did in our first illustration, in our normal curve, so we add the mean and the standard deviation, so therefore we get is equals to 1. So the z-scores of 1 corresponds to an x value of 600, and areas are not changed with the transformation to a standard normal curve. The shaded areas at the right are equal. So here in our illustration, they have the same area, since our here is number 1. Then the value of our number 1 for our normal curve is 600. So I have here an example. So for our example number 1, a research study found that senior high students with class schedule an average of 8 hours per day. The standard deviation is 3 hours. A senior high students with class schedule is selected at random. Find the probability that the student class schedule more than 5 hours per day. It is normally distributed and represented by the variable x. So our mean is 8 and our standard deviation is 3. Yeah, we will use the formula z is equals to the value minus our mean over the standard deviation. So our x is more than 5 hours. Then our mean is 8 and our standard deviation is equals to 3. So we will substitute z is equals to x. Our x is 5 minus our mu is 8. Our mean is 8. Then our standard deviation is 3. So 5 minus 8 is equals to negative 3 over 3. So negative 3 divided by 3 is equals to negative 1. So in our z normal table, we will find the equivalent of negative 1. So just try to check in the normal table. Then we get 0.1587. So since it is more than 5 hours, the probability of x more than 5 hours is equals to the probability of our z is equivalent to -1. So we get -1. So since it is more than, so 1 minus the equivalent of our z-score is -1 is 0.1587 is equals to 0.8413. So, in converting into percentage, it is 84.13%. The probability of the student has a class schedule more than 5 hours. So next, we proceed to the example number 2. So same thing in example number 1, but it is less than 5 hours per day. So sa atong number 1, kuan nga more than 5 hours, but in our example number 2 is less than 5 hours. So diri makita na to ang difference nila. So this is the illustration for example number 2. So our mean still 8 and our x is less than 5 hours. And our standard deviation is 3 hours. So we will substitute. Z is equals to x minus mean over the standard deviation is equals to 5 minus 8 over the standard deviation 3 is equals to -3 over 3 is equals to -1. So, since it is less than, dili na nato siya i-subtract. Our probability is 0.1587 or in percentage, 15.87. That's all about the normal distributions finding probabilities. We'll see each other to my next video or my next topic.